Yeah.
But I want to come back to the thing about mystery in physics, because isn't it possible that our evolved brains, because we evolved in what I call middle world, where we never have to cope with either the very small or the cosmologically very large, we may never actually have an intuitive feel for what's going on in quantum mechanics, but we can still test its predictions. We can still actually do the mathematics and do the physics to actually test the predictions, because anybody can read the dials on a...
Right. I think what we can see is that what scientists have constructed over the centuries is a series of tools, mind tools, thinking tools, mathematical tools, and so forth, which enable us to some degree to overcome the limitations of our evolved brains, our Stone Age, if you like, brains. And overcoming those limitations is not always direct. Sometimes you have to give up something. Yes, you'll just never be able to, as you say, to be able to think intuitively about this. But you can know that even though you can't think intuitively about it, there's this laborious process by which you can make progress, and you do have to cede a certain authority to the process, but you can test that, and it can carry you from A to B. In the same way, if you're if you're a quadriplegic, an artificial device can carry you from A to B. Doesn't mean you can walk from A to B, but you can get from A to B.
Yes. I mean, the bolder physicists will say, "Well, who cares about intuition? I mean, just look at the math."
That's right. They are comfortable with with living with their prostheses.
Well, the perfect example of that is just dimensions beyond 3, because we can't visualize a 4th dimension or a 5th, but it's trivial to represent it mathematically, and so we can move into other domains.
And now we teach our undergraduates how to manipulate n-dimensional spaces and to think about vectors in n-dimensional spaces, and they get used to the fact they can't quite imagine. What you do is you imagine 3 of them and say, you wave your hand a little bit and say, more of the same, But you check your intuition by running the maths, and it works.
But it's easy to do something. Say you're a psychologist looking at personality, and you say there are 15 dimensions of personality, and you could think of them as being 15 dimensions in space. Yep. And anybody can see that you can imagine moving along any one of those dimensions with respect to the others, and you don't actually have to visualize 15-dimensional space.
No. And you give up that demand, and you realize, I can live without that. It would be nice if I could do that, but hey, I can't see bacteria with the naked eye either. I can live without that. But
I think there's one...
Yeah, I was challenged on the radio the other day by someone
can't
who
see bacteria.
appeared to be fairly quiet. No, said that I believed in atoms on no evidence, because I'd never seen one. Not since George Galloway said to me that he'd never seen a barrel of oil.
Right. That's cute. That
but you realize that people at this point, they're wearing themselves right down to their uppers. I mean, they're desperate when they get to this stage. Yeah. The reason I say it is because I think it could, I don't want us to make our lives easier, but it makes the argument a little more simple. We are quite willing to say there are many things we don't know. Or Haldane, I think it was, said, the universe is not just queerer than we understand, it's queerer than we can understand. We know there'll be great new discoveries. We know we'll live to see great things, but we know there's a tremendous amount of uncertainty. That's the whole distinction. The believer has to say not just that there is a God, the deist position, that there may be a mind at work in the universe, a proposition we can't disprove, but they know that mind, and can interpret it. They're on good terms with it. They get occasional revelations from it.
They have a book that is verbatim
briefings from it. Now, any decent argument, any decent intellect has to begin by excluding people who claim to know more than they can possibly know. You start off by saying, well, that's wrong to begin with. Now can we get on with it? So theism's gone in the first round. It's off the island.
Exactly.
It's out of the show.
That's a footnote I wanted to add to what Dan was saying. Even if mystery was somehow something we had to a bitter pill we have to swallow in the end. We are cognitively closed to the truth at some level, that still doesn't give any scope to theism.
Absolutely not, because it's just as close to them as it is to those who aren't.
And also they claim perfect transparency of revelation.
And also they can't be allowed to forget what they used to say when they were strong enough to get away with it.
Exactly. Yeah.
Which is, this is really true,
right,
in every detail. And if you don't believe it,
we'll kill you.
Yes. Yeah. We'll kill you, and it may take some days to kill you, but we will get the job done. Yeah.
Yes.
No, they wouldn't have the power they have now if they hadn't had the power they had then.
Right.